Last night you heard something, not loud, not sharp, just a small, repeated scratch against your wall. At first, it blended into the background, easy to ignore. But then it came again, slightly clearer this time, then a pause, then another. And suddenly, you weren't just hearing it anymore. You were waiting for it. And that's the part that stays with you. Because it's never just the sound. It's what happens in the silence before it returns. Here's what most people don't realize: when something small repeats just enough to interrupt your focus, but not enough to explain itself, your brain doesn't relax. It locks in. It starts tracking it. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to go back to ignoring it. Because this isn't about noise. It's about what your mind does when something refuses to fade into the background. And this is where it gets interesting. The first thing you notice is the interruption. You were doing something normal. Maybe scrolling. Maybe lying still. Maybe just thinking. And then that faint scratch, it breaks your rhythm. Your brain is wired to notice changes, not constants. So even the smallest disruption feels important. Not because it is, but because it's different. But that's not the real reason it stays with you. The second thing is repetition. If it happened once, it would disappear from your memory. But it doesn't. It comes back. Same place. Same kind of sound. Not perfectly timed, but close enough to feel connected. Scientifically, repetition builds recognition. And recognition creates meaning. Your brain starts linking those moments together, forming a pattern even if the pattern isn't real. Here's what most people don't realize. Your brain would rather believe something has a pattern than accept randomness. The third thing is unpredictability within that repetition. It's not consistent enough to ignore and not chaotic enough to dismiss. That space in between keeps your attention locked. You start anticipating it, not knowing when it will happen, but knowing that it will. And that anticipation becomes stronger than the sound itself. And this is where it gets unsettling, because now you're not reacting anymore. You're waiting. The fourth thing is proximity. It's not happening somewhere far away. It's close, just beyond your wall, just outside your space. That closeness matters. Humans are extremely sensitive to nearby, unexplained stimuli. It activates awareness, not fear exactly, but alertness. Your brain treats nearby unknowns as something to monitor, but that's not the real reason it feels so intense. The fifth thing is silence between the sounds. After each scratch, there's nothing. No movement, no confirmation, just quiet. And in that quiet, your mind starts filling in the gap. You imagine what could be causing it. A branch, a bird, something shifting. And because there's no clear answer, each possibility feels just as real. This is where it gets interesting, because now, the sound isn't the only thing you're experiencing. You're experiencing everything around it. The sixth thing is your body's reaction. You might not notice it at first, but your posture changes. You become still. Your breathing softens. You listen more carefully. That's your nervous system adjusting to uncertainty. It's subtle, but it keeps you engaged. The longer it continues, the harder it is to relax. Here's what most people don't realize. Your body responds to uncertainty faster than your thoughts do. The seventh thing is attention shift. After a few repetitions, you stop focusing on what you were doing. Your entire awareness moves toward that sound. You listen for it. You wait for it. Even when it's not happening, part of your mind stays there. This is how small things take control of your attention, not by force, but by persistence. And that's when it starts to feel bigger than it is. The eighth thing is time distortion. The pauses between sounds feel longer than they actually are. Seconds stretch. Silence feels heavier. Your brain is processing more information than usual, trying to predict the next moment. And in doing so, it slows everything down. What might only last a few minutes feels much longer. But that's not the most important part. The ninth thing is what happens after it stops. Eventually, the sound disappears completely. No more scratching. No more interruptions, just quiet. But your mind doesn't switch off instantly. You keep listening. You stay aware. You expect it to come back. And even when it doesn't, that alertness lingers. And this is where it gets deeper. Because now, it's not about the sound anymore. It's about what it did to your perception. You notice more. Small noises, subtle movements, Tiny changes in your environment. Things that were always there now stand out. Your awareness has shifted. Not dramatically, just enough to feel different. But that's not the final realization. The final thing is that it was never really about the scratching sound at all. It was about what happens when something small refuses to be ignored. When it repeats just enough, close enough, quiet enough, unpredictable enough to pull your attention away from everything else. Your brain doesn't dismiss it. It tracks it. It questions it. It builds meaning around it. Not because it's important, but because it doesn't fit. And when something doesn't fit, your mind keeps working until it does, even if it never does. That's why it stays with you. Because in that quiet, repeated interruption, something shifting, not outside your wall, but inside your awareness, you became more alert, more focused, more sensitive to the space around you. And once that happens, it doesn't fully go back. So the next time you hear something small, repeating just enough to keep pulling you back, don't ignore it too quickly. Not because it means something is out there, but because it reveals something about how your mind reacts when the world stops being predictable. And once you notice that, you don't stop noticing it. If something like this has ever happened to you, where a small repeated sound quietly took over your attention, share it. Because the more you pay attention to these moments, the more you start to realize it's never just the sound. It's what the silence around it does to you.